So what we need to do
Yeah.
is be patient.
Oh.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
but you
okay.
can wait. I think you can wait.
I'm into chastity, but
So you have plenty of experience,
Yes.
and we're gonna have this on low heat,
Mm-hmm.
and just let that frittata just cook very slowly,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe about 10, 15 minutes later,
Okay.
we're gonna put it in the oven just to cook off the top,
Mm-hmm.
and it should be set probably in 30 minutes.
How's your sausage?
It needs to turn on, so if you want to do that job of turning this side on, I have not started that, but luckily they cook.
That's the back one.
So look at all this butter.
So many places that could go.
Alright, so I'm in the process of making these potatoes, which are going everywhere. And the first thing we're going to do with these potatoes is just cook them in a ton of butter for about 5-10 minutes. And I'm going to take these potatoes that went in the sausage and put them in there.
Now, how difficult is it cooking in a kitchen that you're unfamiliar with?
It's very difficult.
Okay.
It's very difficult. At home I know where everything is. I know the tricks of my oven. And so if things don't come out perfectly, please understand.
It's very much like playing in a dungeon where you don't know where all of the
Exactly.
equipment is.
Yes. Yes.
The only problem is, this is my kitchen. I don't know where shit is.
So
I don't use this room. I understand this gets food hot, that gets
Yes.
food cold. That gets food hot quickly. This gives me my lifeblood, my coffee, That I can operate.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up here?
Well, like I said, the very first Tom of Finland image I ever saw literally was a drawing of Dirk, and that did have a big effect on my life. I always had an interest in art. When I was a kid, I lived in Palm Beach, Florida, and just over the bridge there was this little museum called the Butter-Poached Foundation that I discovered at a young age, and I would go there and sit amongst these Clifford Stills and these Robert Motherwells and these Donald Judd pieces. And that became my sanctuary for, when we're teenagers, our lives are fucked, no matter what you are. The world is just upsetting. And that is where I would go for my peace. So these artists and these works literally became my friends. Many years later, I ended up going to art school.
Okay.
And upon finishing school, that museum had then been given to the local community college. But I came back there, and that began my professional art career.
What was your medium of choice?
Well, when I started studying, I was studying photography.
Okay.
I quickly realized there were many people much better at art than I was. So I went into the administrative end, curatorial.
So more like an archivist or that type of skill?
Creating the exhibitions, yes. I did start out as archivist and registrar. That's kind of where you begin.
Okay.
But I've made a career of being in very small museums where you're raising money but changing the toilet paper.
I see.
At the same time. So you're executive director and janitor simultaneously. Continued on for a few more years. I moved into the private gallery area. Became kind of well known in the contemporary studio glass movement, Gail Chihuly, that type of work. My partner ended up getting sick. So we ended up selling that space. We had decided at that point in time that we wanted to come back to the LA area to be near his friends and family while he passed. So I kind of stepped away from the art world and became his caregiver. He died, or passed in 2006. I thought I was prepared for it, but I ended up going into this deep depression and funk. Bought a motorcycle, trying to escape my troubles by traveling the country. When I got home, the economy was in a shambles, the world was collapsing, everyone was just kind of trying to survive. Eventually, a friend invited me to a party at the Tom of Finland Foundation in Los Angeles. And I'm like, Tom of Finland Foundation? Los Angeles? I must go. I must see this. It was holiday season. I remember pulling up, opening up the gates of this house, walking up the door to this monster oak door, and there I am on the front porch, literally with the Leatherman of my internet fantasies. Men I had literally spewed copious amounts of cum to, sitting in front of my computer. And I went, I'm here. Met Dirk. Dirk gave me a tour. I knew that this is where I needed to be. And I just kept coming back. And eventually I started to volunteer. That volunteer position eventually turned into a paid position. Shortly after that, I actually had the opportunity to move into the house here.
Wow.
And that's been nearly 10 years ago. Yeah, it's an absolutely amazing journey.
If you had to choose one word that describes your life here at the Tom of Finland House, what word comes to mind?
One word?
Yeah. I mean, if you're getting multiple words, share them.
Surreal.
Surreal.
I guess compared to whatever normality is, it is unexpected. You never know what you're going to run into. It's a house full of people. It's a house full of art. This is Los Angeles. There are photo shoots and film crews happening all of the time. You open the front door and suddenly you're face to face with, Lawrence and
Yes.
my iPad. I do not get starstruck. I do not. We were working on a project with someone, and we started talking about whomever it was that we would actually go nuts for if we met. And he says, well, I know her, she's in town for the Grammys. I gave no more thought than that. The project is done, the house has been a shambles for 3 weeks. I'm in my bedroom with my boyfriend, this deep into him. The doors in this house do not lock, none of them, except for the exterior doors. Before I can say, don't come in, the door opens and she is standing there before me.
Really?
And his deep guttural becomes a high-pitched scream, and I just go, pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
Forgive me for not shaking your hand.
Now, was this your left arm or your right arm?
Right.
Okay. So you can't really shake with your left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to take a moment, look at the frittata. I feel like that's coming along.
Alrighty.
What I would love is to put this in the oven. Our oven is already set for 400 Fahrenheit, and so we're gonna just pop that in.
Would you know what that would be for the Europeans?
I think that's roughly 200 Celsius. Now, what I also need
Yes, Daddy.
is I need you to melt.
Yes.
I need you to melt some of this
Alrighty.
butter into the skillet.
Oh, skillet.
That
Okay.
is,
That's what that's for.
we'll use that afterwards.
All right.
You know, don't you worry. And we have two things that we need to prepare still. So we need to prepare the fruit salad. And then I also want to make a little coconut dessert, assuming we have the time and space. We're going to go for it.
One of the ironies in life is, for a brief time, I was actually a kitchen designer.
Is that right?
And you see this kitchen? Yeah, it's... yeah, it's not the most functional thing in the world, but it gets the job done.
So thank you for boiling the water. I'm going to now add this to the potatoes.
I can boil water.
You know, it's the little things that matter. So, what I would love for you to do
Yes,
is, you know, there's a pineapple over there I'm going to bring over. And for you to cut up that pineapple and start on the fruit salad.
Okay. Keep this for a moment. John, would you pause for a second? So, another friend has joined us, John Wright, who is the secretary of the board here at Tom of Finland Foundation. He's going to be taking over for me for a moment while I go have a cigar. Welcome, John.
Thanks. Thanks for inviting me, Steve.
Anytime.
Well, I understand that Steve is actually staying with you.
Yes, be glad. I'm very happy to show him Los Angeles. I'm glad he's having a great time.
John is probably one of the most amazing Los Angeles leather ambassadors anyone could have.
Thank you.
You also have been involved with the LALC.
Regiment of the Black and Tan.
I get the two clubs mixed up, different color uniforms, same guys. Yeah, we really do have an embarrassment of riches here. Okay, with that, I'm gonna shut up, disappear, and let these two.
Would
Okay.
you be able to do me a favor? There's my recipe. Yep. Just want to get the measurements.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Are we rolling?
We are rolling.
Oh,
Yes,
great.
you just cut it and.
Yeah. Found a nice Wright one, Steve.
Perfect. So Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit about your leather experience?
Well, I first got into leather when I was in law school and working in England,
Okay.
outside of London, in this little town called Peterborough, which is, all you British guys know how boring it is. So I was in London every weekend and discovered the coal heron, which is one of the legendary early leather bars. I also spent a lot of time in Germany because I majored in German,
Okay.
and so Berlin. But when I came to Los Angeles, the scene was pretty lively. Started going to the bars, and people were quite friendly and helped me get the gear and all that, and the rest is history.
And so, how long have you been on this leather journey of yours? Since it's been all your life, would you say?
I would say since my late 20s.
Okay. What do you think is, for someone that's just starting out in leather, what do you think is an important thing for them to know?
There are no right or wrongs about gear. Whatever feels good, as Marc would say, whatever makes you,
Whatever gets your dick hard.
exactly.
I'm shy, I'm quiet, I'm subtle.
And by all means, don't go out and buy everything all at once. The longing, the fantasizing over a piece of gear, even if it's years, is part of the journey, because then when you get it, wow. And it expresses who you are, and don't be afraid to ever wear it anywhere. It's who you are, and screw them if they can't understand that.
Absolutely. So here at the Tom of Finland Foundation, we do have a mission. Our mission is to promote, preserve, and protect the erotic arts. Even though we're named after Tom, he certainly is not the only thing we do. We support various artists all over the world. We have 2 artists in residence in with us right now. We have 2 exhibitions that have just shut down in London, in Paris and Venice, which actually focused on all of the other artists in our collection, like Rick Castro, Suzanne Shefflet, people who are actually living and working today. Probably the only time some of these works have ever been exhibited, because there's always kind of been this shame associated with sex. Sex is not something to fear. It is not something to feel shameful about. It is something to revel in. It is something to celebrate. Excuse me, I'm a little distracted here.
Is this is the coloring distracting you? This bright yellow.
I only have coffee in my cup.
That could be another recipe for the book we're talking about.
Cooking with juices.
Yes.
And to continue what Marc was saying, on the board of the foundation, we feel very strongly that in this day and age, it's essential to carry out this mission. There are so many forces that want to shut down celebration of the body, the celebration of human sexuality, and that goes gay, straight, whatever. It needs to be part of human existence.
What is happening in the Supreme Court affects all of us, not just the leathermen. It's leathers, feathers, straight, gay, male, female. Everyone's rights are being hit. Unless you're a white heterosexual male, then you're safe. The rest of us, well, we're pretty much being screwed. What is this?
So this is
I see
dessert.
nut. Oh, coconut.
This
Oh,
is coconut. This comes out of a cookbook that focuses on Swedish desserts. You know, the Swedish have this tradition of fika, where it's like this midday coffee break, where you sit down with another person, no technology, and you just kind of catch up, and it's, you know, simple, a lot of it's simple desserts, and so this is one that I occasionally make. And it's really just eggs and coconut and a little sugar. You want to take a photo of that?
Yeah, we want to just do a little side video here.
Okay.
Go ahead. Start.
Oh, you want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you just...
Yeah, we need some cooking shots. Oh, you can talk, John. We can. So we're just.
Do you want to... I'm so lazy that I leave the skin on.
Well, that's where the health is.
So I would leave the skin on.
Fat wash them.
Yeah, yeah. Would you be able to do me a favor and fill up some of my coffee?
Yes, Dad. How do you take your coffee, sir?
Just black.
I like my coffee like I like my men. Cold, bitter, and weak. Humor!
You think he's kidding?
I like variety.
Yeah, so that is the spice of life. So where are we now? What are we doing?
So, I think we're nearing the end. I need to put the potatoes in the oven.
Okay.
I'll need to make little balls out of these coconut things.
Balls?
Yes.
I like balls. I love balls in my mouth.
I'm sure you're gonna
Oh
love
my
these
God.
balls.
Are they hairy?
They are, you know, if you consider the coconut
Okay.
strands
Okay.
hair, you know. Then we're gonna need to, are we sitting up there?
Somebody needs to set the table.
Let me set the table.
Okay. It's gonna be cooler out there, but we have Tom of Finland artwork in here.
Whatever you think is the best.
We can have a cigar out there or lunch. Okay, I'm going to exit the kitchen for a moment and go be of service and set tables.
I appreciate it.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. Red china. Looks fabulous on a yellow tablecloth.
So, John, tell me, how did you get involved with the Tom of Finland Foundation?
Well, a couple years ago, I course, I've been coming to events here because it's our clubhouse for Los Angeles leather community. We've had many events over the years, and they've been a beneficiary of our leather pride, et cetera, et cetera. But Dirk asked me to serve on the board because I'm a retired lawyer, and going to the next phase, we need to increase our presence and increase our corporate activities, so I'm glad to serve. I love being on boards, and weirdly enough, I love taking minutes.
So you're the secretary.
I'm the secretary. Whoever takes the minutes controls the meeting.
So that's an important
Because
piece.
no one else knows what happens. They go,
Yeah.
yes, according to the minutes that I wrote, etc.
So you can inject your own, or you can have people forget something happened.
Or I can minimize things. There was a discussion of the need to do X.
Yes.
In reality, they're all hitting each other and tearing each other's hair out, but there was a little disagreement.
See ya.
It is very nice that the city of Los Angeles has honored the house and the foundation with a Cultural Historic Monument Award.
When was that awarded?
That was a couple of years ago.
Okay. Was it a big? Was it difficult for you guys to get it?
All right, I don't know if I want to put this on tape, but
Okay.
that's fine. No, I was responsible for it. I am a very big historical preservation architect freak, and have a similar craftsman house to the house here. So we were having an event, and we had,
You've been to his house.
I have. Yeah.
he's living in it.
I know.
So we're on tape.
You
So,
have to
I-
say,
yeah,
you have
I-
to say Rolly.
Yeah. Sorry.
You have to say Rolly.
so
you
this,
be on tape.
this was the LA Leather Coalition VIP reception. So we had it here with all our major donors, and I invited some people from the city, and it turned out it was, I was chair of it that year. Turned out the people from the Cultural Historical group came. And so I asked them to the side, why isn't this house, you know, if my house is a monument, certainly Tom's house should be a monument. And they said, frankly, we're just waiting for them to fill out the paperwork.
Oh.
So I'll never forget, I'm standing out in the garden, I'm the MC of the event, I'm introducing the city people to Tom, to the house, and to Marc, and to Dirk, and to Sharp. And then I just said, and by the way, gentlemen, these good folks at the city are just waiting to get your application. And the audience, yay, you know, they can't wait to
That's
grant
amazing.
you the status.
Yes.
And of course, then they had to do it. And it was
that's huge.
it was a labor of love, although Marc, of course, did it amazingly well. And they ended up with a binder this thick of all the history and the events and all that stuff. And now, ironically, whenever any other organization wants to have something declared historic landmark, they say, go to the Tom of Finland application because that is the ideal model.
That's amazing. It's a great story.
And so the city actually
They wanted it.
honored him, Tomoko, with something I'd never seen before. Home of the famous queer artist.
Mm.
They didn't beat around the bush at all.
That's fantastic.
So that gives us some flexibility in terms of developers wanting to buy the place and tear it down and put up condos. but it also gives us responsibility to maintain and to preserve. And so we do have a effort underway for Tom's house. So you'll be hearing more about this later on.
So I've made these little coconut balls, and they're ready to go in the oven now for about 10 minutes. Have it set. Check the directions. 350. So I realized there's a pan in the back of this one that we did not take out.
Can you get it out?
Yeah, I think so.
Can always get it out.
Well, without burning himself.
Excuse me for a moment.
So what do you think of these balls?
You got some nice big balls.
I know.
And they are kind of hairy. And they're blonde because they're Swedish.
They're gonna be warm. Most embarrassing kitchen moment?
I would say, it's something so simple as putting something in the oven without the oven being on and waiting an hour and realizing, oh, my bread has not risen because there's no heat.
Most
So,
embarrassing sling moment?
I don't know if I want to share that at the moment. That's our brunch conversation.
I remember playing with this guy in a space, and the floor was so slippery I couldn't get traction. I'm literally holding onto the chains, and every time I move, I'm sliding under him. It was impossible to get any momentum
Yes.
going.
I'm sure you did the best that you could.
I gave up. It was kind of pointless. John, you're wonderful with fruits.
Well, here in Los Angeles, we have every variety of tropical fruit available, so why not throw them in?
Isn't that true?
Is that big enough, or do you need the bigger bowl?
Bigger is always better.
What do you think? Is it gonna, the only thing left are
So long
some
as you're able to
strawberries.
mix this up, yeah.
Excuse me, let me get in behind you. Right, look.
Do you need some items for the cake?
Huh?
Do you need a,
How do you feel about everything being served just in the cast iron skillet?
Perfectly fine.
Okay,
How's your sausage doing?
I think that they're good. I'm debating whether, if you have maple syrup, whether we should douse them with maple syrup. rosemary that I picked up.
It is delicious.
Yeah.
Do you just pour it in hot or?
I'm gonna wait for, I think that I shut it off.
Okay.
You can double check, right? And I'm gonna just pour it on top.
Oh, hear that sizzle.
It's gonna caramelize. You can smell it, right? Smell it. It smells so sweet. Just add a little bit more flavor to these. You got the frittata. Have you set the
I am
table and everything?
In mid-set.
Do you have champagne glasses?
We have, at the very least, we have one. I don't know that I have
For the-
champagne for sure.
For the balloons.
What? Hmm?
Is the potato going to have?
It's already done.
Oh, it's already done. It's been in,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
perfect. Sorry. Is there fruit salad?
Perfect. I hope that you have enjoyed the second part of Kake's Kitchen and my conversations with John Wright and Marc Bellenger of the Tom of Finland Foundation. As always, I really appreciate if you subscribe to this channel as well as share my videos with your friends and keep your eyes peeled for the third and final installment of Kake's Kitchen. Cava or the champagne? Bring out each. John, do you want this butter or should we just leave it here?